Loading. Oh, hey, we're live. Awesome. It says this hangout is on the air live, and there's also a little live orange button, so that's good. All right, cool. Well, hello and welcome to anyone who may at some time in the future after we export the audio listen to this, or anybody who has joined in through the magic of the internet, though I think that's zero right now. So, hi, I'm Josh, and I'll be one of your co-hosts today for this still-to-be-named show. Also joining me is Clark.
That's me.
Hello, and also Alex joining us as well via audio.
Hey, how are you?
Or William, as Gmail seems to call you.
We'll go by Alex.
Knows your secret identity. Yeah. So
Cover is blown.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about some video games that we've been playing and what's going on there, as well as some other exciting things that have been coming up in terms of movies and maybe some TV stuff. So we'll see how far we get and see where the conversation goes from there. But I guess to start us off, I know Alex and I have been playing a lot of the Heroes of the Storm beta.
Right.
And I kind of have a love-hate relationship with that game.
Sounds like a Blizzard game.
Yep. Pretty much.
Yeah, it pretty much it's definitely a Blizzard game, and I don't know, for some reason, like StarCraft, obviously I loved the original and played 2 when Wings of Liberty came out, and just felt like it was going to require way more time to be even a little bit competitive. Mm-hmm. But Heroes of the Storm feels a little more approachable. Wouldn't you agree, Alex?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty approachable. I mean, have you ever played League of Legends or Dota 2 or any of those other MOBAs?
Well, I haven't, because I always hear horror stories about
they're true.
They are. Yeah,
they're true.
I figured they were, but then I figured 2 things. Blizzard was trying to make Heroes of the Storm more approachable.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, getting in on the beta level, when I got my beta codes, I felt like at least maybe I wouldn't be totally destroyed, if I played in the beta a little while and then the game comes out. So I don't know. Yeah. It's one of those games where like one thing can go wrong and just crush your chances of winning.
It can, but the difference between that and, say, something like League of Legends, which I played a lot when it came out, is that it's definitely a lower skill ceiling in that anybody can pick it up, and I don't think any one person on a team is just going to ruin the game, I guess. In League of Legends, basically, if you have one person who was new and just dying left and right, that it would crush the game within a couple minutes, and then you spend the next 20 minutes waiting to surrender. But it's not the same thing with HOTS. I guess, is it called HOTS, or I know that's the name for that's a StarCraft expansion name. So I guess they kind of overlap there.
Yeah, we were doing Heart of the Swarm, and then people started calling them HOTS. So I don't know.
So there's 2 HOTS.
Yeah.
HOTS version 2. Okay, we'll say that.
Very HOTS. Yeah, I mean, it's for anybody who hasn't played it. It's a MOBA or a multiplayer online battle arena where you choose a team of 5 heroes. From the various Blizzard universes, StarCraft, Warcraft, Diablo. Actually, Lost Vikings also.
Right, it's kind of random, but
kind of a nice nod. And you go head to head trying to take out the core, or the kind of central fort within your enemy's base, all along the way, fighting against their minions and taking over objectives to get you certain power-ups.
It's like a next level tower defense game.
Yeah, it really is. It's like tower defense, except you get to play the big hero characters running in between the minions. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So you're almost Hero League, right?
Well, you need to reach rank 30 and then have 10 heroes, but I only got 5, so it's a ways away, and I don't plan on spending any money on it, so it's going to be a little while.
That's the thing with these free-to-play games is you can spend money and kind of get a little. It's definitely not one of those weird situations where it's like pay to win, but you could certainly
not at all.
Yeah, but you could
Pay to get some stuff a lot earlier.
yeah. I mean, there are skins, there are mounts. In fact, you can get it like a unicorn mount, which is really nice.
Right.
Which I have not paid for and will not pay for. I doubt I'll ever spend any real world money in the game. Maybe after it comes out, if there's like one character I finally gravitate toward that I want all the skins for or something, but we'll see. So who are you primarily rolling with as your main heroes there?
Mostly Zagara. Her and Raynor, I guess. I don't know. I'm more of a range type person, I guess. And I've been trying Zeratul today, and I've been sucking. So it's not my thing. I don't know. So,
I've
who have you been
actually
playing?
I've had good luck with Zeratul. He's a little squishy, but he can get away fast with that teleport ability.
Mhm.
I've leaned, you lean towards the ranged. I lean toward melee characters like Zeratul, who's a combo melee assassin, Diablo, and ETC has actually kind of been my mainstay because he's one of the characters I actually bought with the in-game coins. So whether he's in the free rotation or not, I can use him that week.
Mhm.
But it's interesting to see the how people play the different classes and whether they actually play them as they're meant to be played or not.
I don't think they technically will until Hero League.
Yeah, I
Basically,
had a
until you
healer,
get to a certain point, it's just
I
kind
had
of a
a healer on
crapshoot.
my team the other day, like doing nothing related to healing and trying to like take down forts, and it doesn't work so well. So, all
Yeah.
right, so that's Heroes of the Storm. Clark, I know you've been pretty busy with your work and various things and travel, but I know you bring a unique Nintendo flavor to this show. Uh,
Yeah, indeed,
and,
indeed.
and Super Smash Brothers has consumed your life since it came out back in the fall, I think, right?
Starting in November, I put about 200 hours into Smash Bros. For
Wow.
the 3DS.
Wow.
That's just for the
Oh,
3DS. That's not even including the Wii U version. That took another 200 or so hours. But something I find really interesting about it is how Nintendo, it took them, 10 years to finally figure out that HD is a thing. And now they're finally realizing that DLC is something they can make money on, which, on the one hand, I find very good because they actually make great products. But on the other hand, they're finally realizing, oh crap, we actually have to test our stuff when we release it. And I just wanted to talk about the Mewtwo DLC glitch that happened.
I saw that came out. There was a glitch though.
Yeah, I got Mewtwo early because I bought both versions of the game and registered them on Club Nintendo, which is no more, sadly. Even
Yeah.
though the prizes always kind of sucked. But apparently, what happened was if you used Mewtwo in one of the offline modes, it glitched the game up such that you could not play online at all. It effectively broke the competitive aspect of the game entirely. And I, unfortunately, was one of the people who broke my game that way, and so I had to wait about 2 weeks in order to be able to play the DLC that I had just purchased, but it also screwed up the online play for every other character as well, so I was locked out of the game. And I was just wondering, what's your take on that in terms
Well,
of
yeah.
Nintendo?
At least you didn't have to mail your SD card to Nintendo like you would have had to do in the original Wii days. At least they could tap stuff now.
Which I actually had to do that as well, except back for, it was not, it was, what was it, one of the Zelda games, I'm forgetting which one, I have it on the shelf right here, Skyward Sword, yeah. I glitched that game, and I didn't have to mail in the SD card, but they had a special download that you had to download to your computer, plug the SD card in there, replace your save file with that, and then apply the patch, and then replace that with your save file, and then re-put that into your Wii system, and then boot that up, and then it was all fixed. But then you could, that didn't actually fix the glitch. That just took you back to right before the glitch happened, so you could still screw your file up again.
Ladies and gentlemen, the internet.
Indeed. No, that was before the internet.
Nintendo's interpretation. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that the DLC came out and glitched something. Usually it's the...
DLC that fixes it.
there have been so many problems in the last year to 2 years, so many examples I can think of when a game came out broken. Probably, starting with Battlefield being one that was just like super broken for a really long time, but Master Chief Collection on Xbox One had netcode issues forever, and
the new Assassin's Creed, the one in Paris.
Oh God, yeah. And so a lot of times now DLC is like not necessarily DLC in terms of new downloadable content, but just patches are how people seem to finish the game now. And
Yeah.
like, I remember when you stuck an NES cartridge in, and it in most cases just worked, and if it didn't, well, there was no way.
Blue in it.
Yeah.
Blue on it.
Go back to
Therefore,
Blockbuster, right?
Therefore, eventually breaking it more from all the moisture, but we didn't know any better at the time.
We still don't know any better.
Yeah. So that's a good segue into Helldivers, which I wanted to stop on for a second because that game was super broken when it came out. Small developer Arrowhead that developed this for Sony, and they're actually the guys. If you ever saw Magica on PC or played the Gauntlet reboot, so imagine one of those games, but you're like little miniature isometric view, top-down, Destiny-looking guys with weapons on planets fighting aliens. That game drew me in for 2 to 3 weeks. I think that was like all I played was Helldivers. It was insanely good. You build your party of 4 folks out, you get to level up, you get to unlock mechs and tanks and jetpacks and just all kinds of cool, and those are just the gadget upgrades. You get to upgrade and change out your different weapon types and things. And the cool thing about it is there's a galactic map that's updated in real time as the community beats different sections of planets together. So there's a real, quote-unquote, real war happening on the server, and it's tracking progress. And the aliens can actually beat you back and beat you as a community if you don't work together to clear sections and win the war. So
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is that like a shooter or RPG or what?
So it's definitely, I guess, a top-down shooter, kind of twin-stick shooter type thing, but I wouldn't even really liken it to Dead Nation or any of that stuff. It's a little more
XCOM kind of, or?
So you know what? It's kind of like a MOBA if there weren't lanes and other heroes and you were just going around doing the objectives. I mean, that's really,
aside from that.
But it's really you drop down to a planet as a party and you're on the planet for 15 to 20 minutes running between objectives and doing them, and it's stuff like capture an area by holding it for a minute, or turn on these anti-aircraft missiles at this one spot, and then when you've done all the objectives, you all run to the extraction point and defend it until your shuttle comes. It's just really cool. One mechanic in it, you have to actually call down your gadgets, and you have to call down or input button combinations to turn on some of the objectives. And so you're actually using the D-pad, and it's the old like up, down, left, right, except you're trying to do it while you're getting shot at really fast before all your teammates die, and so somebody typically has to cover you while you're inputting button combinations. A lot of fun. It's on PS4, and it's also cross-play with the Vita, which I had a lot of issues with my cross-save syncing from the Vita back to the PS4 version. I'm not sure if they've sorted that out yet, but I would recommend trying it on PS4 if anyone decides to try it. So, yeah.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So, how about Destiny? I know. Did you platinum that, Clark?
I did not platinum that, and that's just because I am too lazy to go back and build another 2 characters and replay the same.
You played a lot of it with your
over
brother, I
and over.
know, and he platinumed it, right?
Yeah, he platinumed it. The most I can say is that the game is really fun and really boring at the same time.
It's so boring. I hate that game.
I mean, because you just go and do the same missions over and over again, and there's so little content on the inside of the game past the story. But the gameplay mechanics, especially whenever you're playing in the Crucible or if there's a public event, just kept me hooked. And also, I'm one of those people that wants every piece of gear I have to be completely leveled up. And once I'm nearly all leveled up, and for every item I have, I get a new machine gun, and I'm like, oh, this looks fun, and I start all over again. And it's kind of like a free-to-play game, except that you have to buy everything ahead of time. So, I mean, it's really just a AAA free-to-play game is what it feels like.
I feel so burned by that game because the promotions around it, like leading up to it, were so great. It's actually the last game I pre-ordered and made. Maybe, well, probably won't be the last game I ever pre-order, but it made me, I got it, and they're like, hey, the game really starts at level 20. So I burned through all the
really
story
at 25.
Well, yeah, and they kept raising, like, oh, well, it really starts at this, and when you do whatever. And then I heard, like, oh, it takes like 6 hours to do one of these raids, and I'm like, who has time to play this game?
Well, the raids are actually pretty awesome. The hard part is you want to do the raid with like 5 or 6 people, and there's no matchmaking for that. So you have to find 5 or 6 people, and if you live alone or everyone works in different schedules, it's really hard to find people that won't just drop out like after the first part. And so that's the biggest issue with that. But I'm actually excited for the new DLC that's coming out for it, because there's a new Crucible mode where, I don't know if you're familiar with the Destiny PvP, but it's very similar to Halo's. But the new Crucible mode, it's called Trials of Osiris, and there is no respawning. The only way you can continue playing after you get killed is if you're revived by a teammate. So yeah, so it's really cool because you have to play more strategically and cohesively as a team in order to progress.
That's interesting. Yeah. So you've spent a lot of hours in that. You said 200 hours on Smash Bros. Probably just on the 3DS version. Thought of a question to ask you guys in relation to that. What do you think's the game that you've spent the most hours on in your life, and how many hours do you think you spent in it, Alex?
Oh man, that's got to be a Civilization game. Probably Civilization 4. I think I spent, I don't know, 150 plus hours on that.
Yeah. It's hard to tell because there were the days before they started putting like trackers and things in games for your save file, and I would say that
right. It makes it a lot easier with Steam. You can easily tell how much time you're wasting on games. So, so looking at Skyrim, I'm like, oh, that's a big number.
Well, so Skyrim's definitely top of mind. I mean, I think back to the olden days and how many times I've played through A Link to the Past, and that one's got to be up there just in terms of playthroughs. And the original StarCraft and Brood War, I know.
That's what I was thinking about.
Hundreds of hours must have been spent there. In modern day gaming, I think Skyrim, I put about 150 hours or so into Skyrim. I did everything in Skyrim. I didn't do any of the DLC because I was just kind of burned out at that point, but I did every nook and cranny. And that game really rewarded you for exploration and going to some of the areas of the map that you didn't really think you would ever be able to reach. And man, I miss Skyrim a lot, but that was good. Clark, what is it Smash Brothers for you, or?
Yeah, it's either going to be Smash Brothers or Brood War. I spent a lot of time in Brood War trying to figure out how to beat you, actually, and I could never do it.
Hey man,
Rush, right?
I got 2 words: lurker drop.
No, this guy, he'd join we would play on team co-op, and right before he killed the enemy, he would just stop and then put all kinds of drop ships in my base for defense, and then wipe me out before beating the game alone.
I like that total domination approach.
But yeah, I think it was Brood War.
Yeah, that one's got to be up there for me too. And speaking of Blizzard games earlier, like Hearthstone has really, since Hearthstone came out on iPhone finally, I'd played it on PC and iPad a while back,
Yeah.
and kind of got tired of it, whatever, and it came out on iPhone, and now I find that's my, like, when I can't access any other gaming, I'm just playing Hearth, and it sucks because Hearthstone drains like half your battery per match. It's that. Have you guys played Hearthstone much?
Oh yeah, it's great until you lose everything in one turn.
Yeah. I played basically from the beta until December, and then I realized it was taking too much of my time, so I stopped playing. But a lot of new cards have come out, so I'm willing to pick it back up now. It's a lot of fun. And with the daily quest, it kind of keeps on sucking you back in. It's like, oh, if I don't play today, I'm not going to get the gold, you know? So
Yeah. I find that I can rank up during each season to about 18, and you start at level 25 and work your way up. I get to about 18 and I start fighting these people who have like ridiculous boss cards who wipe me out in one hit, and I guess they've like paid to play through all of the extra wings and such in the solo campaign, and so they have these boss cards, and I just can't. So then I get mad, and I'm like, I'm not playing Hearthstone anymore because I don't have time to buy the solo missions and play through, and then I frickin' pick it right back up and play it again. I'm gonna skip talking about Aru's Awakening and Tower of Guns. Those were a couple of the PS Plus games this month, but neither one of them honestly were very good. I didn't think, especially Aru's Awakening, the controls they map to jump to shoulder buttons. That's all I'll say. Yeah, that's all that needs to be said about that game. But before we move on to the next segment, I did want to touch on Never Alone, because I think, Alex, I don't know if you've played Never Alone, but Clark, I think you said you played that game.
Yeah, I think it would make a nice documentary.
Well, it essentially is a documentary.
Is that the one with like the polar bear and the Eskimo and all that?
Yeah, so you're like a little Eskimo girl, and you meet an Arctic fox along the way, and so it can be played co-op. I played through single player, switch back and forth between them and it's really not that difficult. There are a few little minor puzzles and a couple little battles, but they're not really bad. I mean, you throw like a slingshot thing at a couple of people, but as you find artifacts throughout the levels, they can take you out to these little documentary segments, and there are probably, I don't know, like 15 or so in the game, and it actually gives you insight onto the people. I don't know if Eskimo is the right term. Is it Inuit or something that they use?
I think that's what it is.
I don't. Someone will probably call us out for not knowing that and being racist or something, but not on purpose. But yeah, it was really cool to hear the stories straight from the mouths of these people and hear about their folktales, which the game itself is based around one of the folktales, and it stood out to me as like what gaming has become and what gaming really needs more of.
Yeah. One thing I do want to point out though is I also played through the single player by myself. I didn't try it co-op yet. That might be a good reason to test out it's not called remote play. I don't know what it's called. Airplay, yeah. So, but it seemed like the game was more atmosphere than anything else in terms of the actual game itself, if you look past all the documentary segments. And I couldn't help but feeling it's really just mediocrity at its core, just covered up with piles of great atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's not gameplay wise. If it didn't have the documentary approach and it didn't have the great art style that it has, it would be like a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 for me. But it definitely, I would give it like an 8 or a 9 just for the whole experience as one thing. That is a good point. It wouldn't be that much fun otherwise, I don't think. It's good too that it's just short as it is, because it can be kind of beaten in a day, and it would have outstayed its welcome much longer because you really repeat the same mechanics a lot.
It's a great way to learn something new.
Indeed. So I want to move on to the segment of things that we're most excited about. I don't have any bumpers prepared unless someone wants to sing a segment intro, but
Nope.
Yeah, okay, me neither. We'll rectify that at some point. But I think, I don't know about you guys, but there's been a lot of one very specific topic lately in the news, and that is Star Wars.
Yes.
Next topic.
Two things, right? Not just Episode 7, The Force Awakens, which we got to see another trailer of, which had Han and Chewie in it.
I refuse to call that episode. It's episode 4 to me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Well, it was funny to see, that event they had, the Star Wars Celebration event. There was very, you couldn't really find photos or talk, or, no one was talking about the prequels at that thing. It's like they've kind of been forgotten, and everyone's just excited that there's this new thing that hopefully won't beat the prequels.
It's like Jar Jar Who.
Yeah, I mean, so it's exciting as a huge, long-time, lifelong Star Wars fan that there's it's kind of like a chance at rebirth here for something that we really have loved for a long time.
Yeah,
it has a potential. Do you know who the main character is supposed to be this time around? Is instead of Luke, supposed to be maybe his daughter or something?
Yeah, I think there's some offspring involved. I've honestly tried to isolate myself as much as possible, aside from watching the trailers, because I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay.
It looks like the young lady from the trailers, as well as the guy who's going to be the Black Stormtrooper. They both seem like they're going to be the main characters, I think. Maybe even potentially Jedi. We've got this new Sith Lord we got to look at with a cool mask, and then there was that Chrome Stormtrooper wearing the cape. I want to action figure that guy. That guy was awesome. But in relation to gaming, what do you guys think about Star Wars Battlefront coming back and not being called Battlefront 3, but just Battlefront?
Aside from the fact that they're not putting a 3 on the end, I like it. I'm excited. The one thing I'm worried about is I don't know if they're going to. I don't know. I'm looking at the game through the lens of nostalgia, and I don't know if it's going to live up to both the hype or my expectations.
But those screenshots, those in cinema scenes they showed, man, it's like it looked better than the real Endor in Return of the Jedi. It was so good. I just, I was never a big Battlefront guy. The whole multiplayer combat and getting perks where you could play as Vader or Yoda or whoever for a little bit when you did well. I was more of a Rogue Squadron guy.
Yeah, me too. I think that's the last one I actually played, Star Wars related, for N64.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
Was there a GameCube Rogue Squadron too, I'm remembering?
Yeah, it was I don't remember what it was called, but there was one for the GameCube as well.
Yeah, I mean those games were great. I lived for that. And it sounds like there's going to be no space combat in Battlefront, although there will be vehicles. But I don't know, it'll probably be DLC or something. So I don't know, I'm excited just because A, Star Wars, and B, it comes out right before the movie, so I might pre-order it. It'll be like my hype train to ride right into the theater. So. And
then just in time to be disappointed by the movie.
Don't bring me down, man. It's gonna be good. For Lost and Cloverfield and the end of Aliens. Okay, well let's. So also, I'm really excited about Batman Arkham Knight. Have you guys seen much around that?
I actually have never played one of the Arkham games.
Oh my gosh.
Me either. I played the demo, but it wasn't for me, so I'm not going to buy it.
Oh man. Those games, the combat, and I'm a really big, I love when I can forgive story, whatever, if a game has really fun mechanics. Luckily for the Arkham games, they have amazing comic book stories in them as well, but the combat, man, it's just so good. When you get kind of in a fluidity with those and you're in your flow and you're just got a group of 30 guys around you and you're Batman and you're hitting the buttons with the right timing and doing all the combos, and It's really good. It's kind of the same feeling I had with Shadow of Mordor earlier this year, or I guess late last year.
Which wasn't that supposed to be an Arkham game originally? Or?
It really, yeah, that was the rumor, and I think that's why I liked it so much, because that combat is just, it takes a little getting used to, and you really will get your ass kicked initially, just because it's different from any other fighting like melee combat that you've ever played before. But once you get it down, it's great. But the exciting thing about Arkham Knight is it was just announced that there's going to be this co-op fighting mode with the AI in the game, so you can be Batman and Robin, Nightwing and Catwoman. They just announced today that Batgirl is going to be in the game, so you can actually take two heroes into battle and switch back and forth between them, supposedly. And that's, I mean, Nightwing, take my money.
Yeah.
So E3's coming up. Anything you guys are particularly looking forward to at E3? Any announcements you're hoping for?
I am, being the Nintendo fanboy that I am curious about what they're going to do with the smartphone apps or games that they kind of announced abruptly a month or two ago.
Oh, right, being developed by...
if there's going to be any more information. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I personally think it's a bad idea.
Out of the console business forever and just make games. So.
Yeah. See, I don't. Well, maybe I would like that, but I mean, I'm thinking it'd be pretty nice to play Smash on the PS4 with the PS4 controller, or at least get a wireless GameCube controller synced up to it. But
that would be nice, because I don't really want to buy a Wii U, so that's why I would never. That's why I would never play Smash. So.
Yes. Arguably, though, it's worth the money if you put 200 hours into the single game.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, honestly, it's worth the money for Bayonetta 2, but I still haven't bought one, so.
Yeah. In terms of what I'm most excited for about E3, other than that, the thing I enjoy the most, and you at home can play along with me, is tallying up everything that you think is not going to come out when they say it is, or everything that is not going to be in the game feature-wise that they say will be in there. I remember, or for the console, the 4 or 6 years they have a console cycle, because there's always something. Like with the PS4, half of the features they mentioned did not come out until this year, even though they announced it like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And same thing with the Xbox One and a lot of the games. So that's what I'm most looking forward to.
Xbox One's still a work in progress.
Exactly.
Alex, any E3 wish list items for you?
I haven't really followed E3 too much. I'm more of a BlizzCon type person, so.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
I'm really the one thing I want, and the one thing I think is coming, is a Fallout 4 announcement from Bethesda.
That would be nice.
You guys,
I did love Fallout 3.
Yeah. Clark, did you play Fallout 3?
I played parts 1 and 2. I kind of was a little upset that it wasn't a nice over-the-top.
I would agree with you on that. It was definitely a step down, but I'm like, hey, new Fallout, so that's something. So
that's
take what you
interesting
get.
to hear you say that, because I came into Fallout at 3. That was my first Fallout game, and my only one. I didn't play New Vegas because it was so buggy when it came out, different developer. I don't know if I'm going to like Fallout 4 as much, because part of the fun of Fallout 3 was that it was the nuclear wasteland of the Washington, D.C. area, and it was really cool to like walk around these places that I walked around, daily.
Like going to the metro station, it's like, oh, Foggy Bottom. That was a wasteland.
Yeah.
Well, those already are kind of like a wasteland.
It wasn't much of a stretch for them to turn DC into a wasteland, but it was just cool, man. You go into the archives in that game, the National Archives. You can see like the crumbling Washington Monument, and when you start the game, I think you're kind of out in like Northern Virginia. There's DLC to take you up into Maryland and some places. I think it's just that was like really the magic of that game for me. It was like, oh, what if that really happened? And I was like looking around these areas, and probably I wouldn't be saved by living in some vault underground, but especially given the fact you're born at the beginning of that game. But so I don't know if Fallout 4 is going to carry the same magic for me, but I really like the RPG like choice system and the way that you could pretty much just wander around and do that game in whatever order you wanted to. I don't know, but first person. I hope it has like a better third person kind of feel to it. Third person sucked in Fallout 4, so I played it all in first person. But I don't know. The more something looks like an FPS, the less I typically want to play it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've been getting back into Far Cry 4, but I'll save that.
There is one game that I'm looking at. I'm clicking through a link at Games Radar for upcoming games for the Xbox One they might announce or something like that. Earthlock Festival of Magic, you heard of that, Josh?
No, I haven't.
It's for the Xbox. It looks like an RPG mashup with like Final Fantasy and like, I don't know, Harvest Moon or Stories of Seasons or something like that. I don't know. It looks very interesting.
To check that one out.
I couldn't say much more than that because I'm just looking at the picture. So. But it looks like Final Fantasy. I'm in.
I'm immediately interested as soon as I hear RPG to give it a chance. And I think did I hear the word magic in there? So
yeah, Earthlock Festival of Magic. So I'm gonna keep my eye on that.
Yeah. So the only other thing that on my hype train list is Avengers: Age of Ultron, which I have tickets to go see tonight. So I'm pretty stoked. I've heard good things, and the original Avengers movie was probably my favorite Marvel movie thus far. So, you guys, you gonna go see that sometime soon?
Next weekend.
Whenever it comes out on Netflix.
So let's talk a little bit about news. I guess we can decide whether we want to talk about this one or not, whether you guys are Deus Ex fans, but there's a new Deus Ex coming that's been announced. You guys into that series at all?
Not so much.
Yeah, I'll second that.
So I would recommend if you get a chance to. Oh, I hear some motorcycles going by. Sound effects. We got a bumper for the news segment. It's a motorcycle.
Nice.
The news is being delivered on a motorcycle. Some guy just dropped off a newspaper.
A little random.
Yeah. So Deus Ex. Check out the last one. It's got to be cheap by now. I know it's on PC as well as
Was
the
it like Invisible War? Or?
I don't think it is Invisible War, the previous one. Let me look it up. The reason I recommend it, the reason I really liked it is it's first person. Although when you're stealthing, I think you can go into third person when you're in cover. It's Human Revolution was the most recent one, and a lot of people like the old ones on PC and say how they're better. I fiddled around with those a little bit back in the day, but I think that this most recent one, Human Revolution, doesn't get enough cred just because it's another one of those games you can play it any way you want to. You can stealth, you can go in guns blazing, whatever, and the whole concept of the game is that you augment your human body with these different augments, and you get to spend points and pick which ones you want. So you can get really good at vision and like zoom in on things, or you can be better at like carrying more stuff, typical RPG stuff. So actually very similar to Fallout in the way that it's played, just a different aesthetic. We talked about Xbox a second ago. The most recent earnings report from Microsoft, not great. Another decline in Xbox sales, and they've really, you can't say they've been struggling because this has been a good console generation for everybody but Nintendo. But they're struggling in terms of where they want to be in North America, right? They're not competing against the PS4 with the exception of the one quarter where they discounted very sharply around the holidays. They haven't been able to keep up. So what do you guys, what's going on with the Xbox?
I don't think they have anything to worry about. It's Xbox, and there's going to be the PS4, and there's always going to be those two. Nintendo's Nintendo's dying, so I don't think Xbox has anything to worry about. Didn't Nintendo say they were gonna? Aren't they going to start developing like a new console or sooner rather than later?
Well, they announced that they're developing or in development of a new console, but they didn't actually say when it's coming out or anything like that. I don't think Nintendo's going to die so much because there are too many hardcore fanboys, so they'll always have those people buying the games, and a lot of people get the Nintendo system as a second system. It's like I have the Wii U, of course, but I have to have my PS4 or Xbox, which this gen.
Why PS4 over Xbox?
Well, basically, the reason I got the PS4 over the Xbox is I liked the controller better, and my brother, one of my brothers, was getting the PS4 at the time, and so I thought, okay, I'll get the PS4. That, and also, I didn't really care too much for the Kinect at the time.
Yeah. To me, it's all about exclusives, and exclusives aren't nearly as big a deal as they used to be. And as much as I love Halo, although I liked it a lot more under Bungie than I did 343. Sony is just kind of courting those smaller, like bite-sized indie games, and that's what fits my lifestyle now. I've played dozens and dozens of first-person shooters, the Call of Duties and all that crap, and I don't need that anymore. And I think that's, you mentioned Nintendo has their fanboys and they have their niche and they'll survive on that. And I think Xbox is becoming the same thing, where you have your Call of Duty and your Madden players, and you have your people who must have Halo, and they're going to always, probably be on Xbox, it seems like, and Sony's going to court that kind of older, more mature audience. Although, Alex, I guess you're just PC master race all the time, right?
Pretty much. I mean, I still don't have one of the 3 newer systems. My newest system's a PS3, so I'll probably buy one this winter when next holiday sale, but it won't be a Wii U. That's all I've determined so far.
You're a DS gamer too, though, right?
I am, yeah. I got a 2DS. Honestly, my fiance Teresa plays this a lot more than I do at this point with Story of Seasons. So she's like, "Oh, I gotta milk the cows and watch them."
Harvest Moon, man.
Right.
Speaking of games that I put a lot of hours into, the N64 version of that game, man. And I would just go fishing for days.
I thought that game was so boring.
It takes a special kind of gamer to play those, so.
Yeah, you gotta be really patient. Does anybody care about the Warcraft movie? I think Evan put that on here, and then he bailed on the show to go to Japan before than us.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hasn't that been in development for forever now?
Yeah, with video game movies, A, I'll believe them when I see them, and B, they're never any good. So.
Hey, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, okay.
They have pretty good themes. So.
Yeah, the music's great.
Actually, it's funny, for Street Fighter, they made a game based off of the movie that was based off the game, and it had Jean-Claude Van Damme's likeness and everything in there.
Was that Genesis? I'm thinking that was on.
I don't know if it was Genesis or if it was Sega CD or something.
Okay, I remember, for some reason I remember a box art for that. A couple other newsy things. Watch Dogs 2 apparently is in development. I did not like the first one. I don't know. Did you guys play Watch Dogs and care about it?
I did back when it was called Assassin's Creed the first few times it came out.
Fair enough. So, the last thing in news, and I don't know if you guys heard about this or not, I just was reading a little more about this morning, but have you guys heard of Yooka-Laylee? Yeah, so that's by developer Playtonic, who used to be a bunch of people who were at Rare when Banjo-Kazooie was made. So this is like the spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. Fastest video game, I think, to hit $1 million on Kickstarter ever.
Yeah, it took them, I don't remember how long it was, but it was less than a day.
Yeah, it was a matter of a couple of hours, I think. I think it was like 7 or 8 hours. It's insane. I'm not a big Banjo-Kazooie fan. I like some of the stuff Rare did prior to but I don't know. I'm not excited about Yooka-Laylee necessarily.
I really enjoyed. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I'm cautiously optimistic about it because I tend to like games that are funded on Kickstarter a bit better than whenever they have a lot of corporate funding and pressure from the outside or from above like that. And
Certainly.
I actually was a big fan of Banjo-Kazooie. It was probably my second favorite N64 game. So
After what?
after GoldenEye, which was also rare.
Yeah, well, so speaking of Rare, though, apparently they have a new game coming at E3. I think, it seems like Microsoft just like relegated them to making like Xbox Live Avatar skins for so many years, and I guess they did Viva Pinata. It'll be interesting to see what Rare, now under the House of Microsoft for a long time now, announces at E3. I don't know. Donkey Kong Country was kind of the pinnacle in GoldenEye, and I think they get more credit than they actually deserve for being great because of GoldenEye.
Oh, they had Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah.
Well, Connect Sports.
Connect Sports. Okay, yeah. So, how many people from the Donkey Kong Country and GoldenEye days are even at Rare? I'm gonna guess few to none.
Yeah, maybe one like token.
Feels like Microsoft's like, hey, we're losing. We need some really great exclusive to announce. Let's have Rare announce a game and get a bunch more people on board. And oh, by the way, it's going to be by the guys who made Connect Sports.
Yep.
We'll see. So let's quickly touch on like what are you guys doing outside of gaming for your tech, your entertainment fix, whatever you want to call it. I know I just finished watching Bloodline Season 1, which is a new show that came out on Netflix. I think it's kind of one of the lesser knowns. It's not a House of Cards. It's not a Daredevil, which we can talk about at some point. But Bloodline was an interesting show, a slow burn. It was one of those shows like a few episodes in, I wasn't sure if I was feeling it, and then kind of midway through the season, at the end of every episode, there's some cliffhanger that draws you along. And what it boils down to is it's not even that interesting of a story. It's about a family in Florida who owns a bed and breakfast or an inn or whatever, and the older brother comes home after a long time away from home, and he's kind of a dick to everybody. And it's really the story of like this family and kind of what they do to the brother, what the brother did to them, what's the dark secrets of their past and that sort of stuff. So it's interesting because it peels back the layers and uncovers a little bit at a time for you and kind of keeps you drawn in. So that was a pretty decent show, I think, if anybody wants to check that out. Any other kind of movie, TV stuff, any apps, anything you guys are jamming on lately?
I've been trying to catch up with Vikings on Amazon Prime lately. I've missed that the first couple of seasons it was on a History Channel, I think, and I'm like, at first I was like, oh, it's History Channel, who cares? And then like I'm watching the first season, like, hey, this is actually a pretty good show. So I don't know, there's a lot going on there. It's pretty interesting with betrayals, and it's kind of like a low budget Game of Thrones, I guess, without a lot of the fantasy. So I guess that's the best analogy I can come up with.
That's like saying Helldivers is a MOBA without the lanes.
Exactly. Without the dragons,
What about you, Clark? Anything going on in that realm?
Not exactly in the TV entertainment, but I actually have started getting to tabletop games a little bit more than I was prior. In particular, lately, something called Summoner Wars. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have heard. I've heard great things about it. I haven't played it.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's the best way I could describe it is saying it's like a mixture of Magic: The Gathering and chess.
I'm sold.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's like saying it's a mixture of Hearthstone and chess.
Yeah, well, maybe actually, probably matches that a little bit. But the interesting thing is, everything is based solely around your deck, but unlike most card battle games, because this is in a more of a board game format, each deck is still competitive later on, like whenever new cards and decks get you don't actually have to keep buying cards in order to stay competitive in the game. And so that's something I really like about it.
Yeah, I actually
Yeah, that seems nice.
I backed the Ghostbusters board game on Kickstarter that Cryptozoic is working on. That's supposed to be done and delivered by October. I've been posting some of the screenshots of the miniatures that they're working on out of the molds. They email them to the backers once in a while. I've been posting some of those on Twitter. Yeah, I'm excited. It's a co-op board game, from what I understand, where you choose your Ghostbuster, and they have the originals. They have the Ghostbusters from the comics. So so you can pick Kylie or you can pick Ray, whatever. There's Janine. So they've got like a lot of the Ghostbusters in there, and it's villains from the movies, the real Ghostbusters cartoon, and as well as the comics. So you've got your Boogeyman, and you've got your Zool, and you've got your Stay Puft. Slimer's in there. Yeah, Slimer's totally in there. And they're going to be like these bosses with these little miniatures that like move around the board, and you're going around fighting them and trapping them as a group of 4, maybe more players. I think it's 2 to maybe as many as 8. Super stoked about that, and mainly just because I backed on Kickstarter at the highest level. Not the high, because the highest level is for retailers, but at the highest level of an individual person can back, I get an extra like hard mode Stay Puft boss, and he's going to be a little taller than the other Stay Puft miniature, and he's probably going on a shelf. So that's going to be awesome. He's going to go in the man cave on a shelf, because who doesn't like some Stay Puft? Cool. All right. So we should probably wrap up soon. I have no idea what we should call this show. So if anyone has any ideas now or afterwards, or once we post the video link and I extract the audio and post the podcast link, if anybody wants to give us feedback, I don't know what we should call the show. Also, we appreciate feedback. Any ideas? Should we just call it like, I don't know, call it the live show that we're having right now at this very moment?
Josh's show. I don't know. There's 2 Joshes right now, so.
There are. I've been calling Josh Clark for purposes of by his moniker, other moniker there. So we'll figure that out. I guess the last thing to do then is to give any parting advice of the day that we would dole out to our listeners. Mine was going to be that we talked about Star Wars earlier. I want to encourage people, and this is on Netflix, Alex, so you have no excuses. I want to encourage people to watch Clone Wars, which is the Star Wars animated series. I think it's about 6 seasons on Netflix, and it's way better than you think it's going to be. It's really good. It's true Star Wars. Definitely carries the soul of it across. And I haven't watched much of the new Disney XD series, Star Wars Rebels. It felt a little too Disney what I did watch, but I'll give it a chance at some point. But I can guarantee Clone Wars is worth watching. Any advice from you guys for folks?
I would say don't pick Gazlo unless you have very thick skin. That's it.
Yeah, so Gazlo, Heroes of the Storm, don't pick him.
Yeah, your teammates are going to hate on you for that because he's objectively terrible. So.
Good to know, Clark.
I'd say I guess if you're trying to unlock everything in Smash, don't use the hammer on the Beat All-Star mode on hard now, because they actually dumbed down the difficulty so that it's easier to beat. So if you have been trying to get that challenge completed, don't worry about using the hammer.
All right, no hammer it is. No hammer time. Cool. All right. Well, thanks guys for joining me. We'll see where this thing goes from here, and if we do another episode next week or something, we'll figure that out. Um, the show notes and link to the video feed as soon as I stop the broadcast should actually export to my YouTube channel right after this. So I'll share that out to all the listeners, and I want to extract the audio and get a podcast feed out there, throw the RSS up on iTunes, and hopefully we'll get a little feedback and have some other folks join us as well next time or in a couple times. So we'll see if we can keep this going and if there's any interest in doing so. But thanks for joining me, and thanks to everybody who listened. And I'm going to stop the broadcast.